This is Sallust 23 from line 7 in your text. There was, and this is the existential form of the verb to be, there was, and here's your predicate nominative, an old habit. Consuetudo, consuetudinous, feminine habit. And that's modifying it. It's a third declension adjective. So it has that funky ending there. An old habit of disgraceful sexual activity. That's stuprum. Fill in, with your own vocab there. And here we got a dative. To him, in other words, to Quintus Curius, with Fulvia. And that's, don't have a macron there, but should have one. It's a long A, with Fulvia. And then this bit here is the appositive, redescribing Fulvia. She is a woman of elite status, so aristocratic elite status. It looks like noble, but noble's kind of a positive thing. I think it's more neutral in Latin. And here we've got a dative of the relative pronoun. So this goes back to Fulvia here. That's the antecedent there. So it's a little bit like we just had AE. To that person. Okay? And this dative is coming off of gratus. Pleasing to her. Pleasing to her. When he was less pleasing to her. Technically it's to whom, but we just don't string our sentences along the way they did. So we'll just put the demonstrative pronoun in there instead of the relative. And here we've got imperfect, subjunctive. All right, because we've got a cum clause, and it's a kind of a conditional idea there. All right, and why was she less pleasing? Because his bankruptcy. That's also a macron there. Because of his bankruptcy, he could spoil her less. This here is the comparative adverb, minus, and largiri, that is the present passive infinitive. Largiri, to spoil someone, to spend a lot of money on them. And it's the complementary adjective going with poterat. He was able to spoil her less. Suddenly, boasting, he began to promise the seas and the mountains. So he's trying to impress her with promising delivery on items he cannot possibly deliver on. This is the present active participle here. It's a good one. And the nominative singular. These guys are the direct objects here and here. Direct object of polycheri, which is your present passive infinitive. So two present passive infinitives there and there. He began to promise the seas and the mountains. I suppose we'd say promise the stars and the moon, something like that. And alternately, to threaten with armed violence. So this is really interesting. Ferrum, actually means iron, and then metaphorically it means sword, and then metaphorically again it just means violence. This is another present passive infinitive. So you see Sallust has chosen his vocabulary. So he's got these nice deponent infinitives, 1, 2, and 3. He couldn't spoil, he began to promise, and then he began to threaten. This is a shortening of nisi, which means unless. Unless she was going to be submissive to him. So it's a classic case of partner abuse. And next, you got more savagely agitated than he was accustomed to. So probably one of the trickier parts of this sentence is getting this kui here, getting that idea that this refers back to Fulvia there. And this form, that's also a tricky part. That's the imperfect subjunctive of the verb to be, foret. It's actually short for futurus esset, which is sort of a mangled form of esset, which is your imperfect subjunctive, with futurus, the future active participle of the verb to be. Pretty weird there.